Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of my Philadelphia Phillies franchise. And after an historic run by the Los Angeles Dodgers in the postseason, we're going to be getting into the offseason. Now this is going to be a very important offseason for our organization. It will be very important in deciding if we are going to be a contending team in the near future or not, kind of what our organization will look like for the next few years. So it is definitely going to be an important offseason to watch for in this series. Now moving on to the league retirees, I'm actually going to talk about my plans for the offseason while I scroll through and just highlight some guys who I thought were interesting to me that retired, since we really don't have anyone in our club that's a big retiree that changes the organization much. Logan Forsythe and Anthony Swarzak are the only guys retiring for us. Basically just, veteran depth guys, even though Forsythe was on the major league roster for a bit before he got injured, which is, the reason why he's retiring in the first place. Now, my main plans for the offseason are, of course, to make a big splash in free agency. We have a lot of money coming off the books this year with Arrieta, Robertson, and Bruce all coming off the books. And, of course, we had, additional budget left, even with those guys on the roster. So we really have the space to make two big splashes this offseason, which I plan to use with one impact bat and one impact arm in the starting rotation, as I highlight quickly Eric Kratz, Phillies legend there, as you can see, catcher. So yeah, one impact bat, one arm for the starting rotation. Now the impact bat position doesn't really matter, since I think with Kingery's positional versatility, he could play the infield, play center field if we need to. Depending on who's available, that's really going to depend on what position we bring in. Of course, again, Kingery's positional versatility allows us to bring in an impact bat, whether it be an infielder or an outfielder. So position we'll get to that when we get to the free agency and see really who's available. Now starting rotation, we're going to sign a guy who can combine with Wheeler and Nola to really provide a punchy big three for us. Of course, in the playoffs, you really need three quality starters to win a postseason series. That fourth guy, kind of optional. It doesn't have to be as good as the top three, but you need three frontline starters so you really believe can go out there and give you a chance to win those games. So that's what we're going to do this offseason, with really, solidifying the rotation, solidifying our lineup, which really doesn't guarantee us a spot in the playoffs, but really just shifts us into that contender mindset. As before this, I really don't think our roster was good enough, but these two options will definitely give us kind of the foundation to, make a move in the middle of the season if we are in the kind of contending spot, and really make that push and build our roster faster. And these two signings hitting for us this offseason is really going to be important to us contending sooner rather than later. Now, of course, Harper signing with Philly, really expected them to be contenders sooner rather than later. And of course, that one starter spot that us signing, we're not going to sign any more starters than that because we have Suarez, so I definitely still want to give a turn in the rotation after his good season last year. Now we need, of course, that extra spot for Spencer Howard, one of our top prospects who got a chance last year. Wasn't very good, but he definitely needs a full season under his belt as a starter, and he's definitely going to get that, which is why we are only going to go after one starter. So again, one starter and an impact bat. That's what we're going to be doing, and I'll see you guys in the next phase of free agency. Now, of course, before we get into free agency, we have to look at our guys who are about to enter free agency. And really here, the only guy of note is JT Realmuto. Re-upping with the best catcher in baseball, signing him to a long-term extension. Now, of course, in this game, his defensive abilities aren't really well represented by the game, but he's still one of the only catchers that provide good offensive value in the league. So we're definitely going to re-up with him. No doubt about that. And then pretty much everyone else on the screen we decided to not bring back. They're pretty much all just depth veteran guys who really were on the roster, besides Jose Alvarez, who was good but can't get lefties out, and we need lefty relievers who can get lefties out. So that is pretty much all you need to know in this screen. JD Realmuto, he is coming back. Now moving on to guys who are still under team control but have expiring contracts that we need to re-up with. There are a decent amount of guys who are still under team control that are on the major league roster, and pretty much we're bringing all of them back. Also all on 1-year deals now. Ever since MLB The Show added the kind of morale addition to the players in franchise mode, you can't really sign guys to multiple year deals while they're under team control, or their morale will tank after the first season where they'll want more money, and then that just affects the ratings go down, the performance goes down. So I mean, I've learned personally from playing this game that it's really not worth it to up those guys, even though you would save money on a lot of those guys, extending them through the rest of their team control. You really can't do that in this game if you want to still get good performance out of them. And now that's really all you need to know for this kind of part. Also, we brought back pretty much every prospect that has some kind of value. Everyone that's pretty young, has a C potential or above mostly. We are bringing back, I know everyone out there probably doesn't want to see me going through and just re-upping with random prospects, so I'm going to skip that kind of part of the episode. But again, just know that everyone who is on the team that is still under team control, that was on the major league roster, is going to be back. Their role probably won't be the same, but they will be back. The only person of note in the minor leagues that I'm not bringing back is Nick Williams, just because he has kind of no spot left in this team for him. But again, pretty much bringing everyone in the minor leagues back who's fairly young and has some value left. And that is pretty much all I have to say about that. Now we're going to move on to the next portion of the off season. Now getting into the most exciting part of the off season, free agency, and just looking here already, I can see some big names I'm interested. Mookie Betts, Trevor Bauer, George Springer, I'm interested in bringing pretty much all of those guys in. One of those two bats filling that bat spot, and then Trevor Bauer, definitely the guy I want to go after as being that kind of starter to add to our top three with Wheeler and Nola. Now Mookie Betts is the first guy I'm going to offer to. I'm going to offer him pretty much the max deal you can offer in this game, 10 years with a player option. Now Mookie Betts, of course, we all know him in real life as a perennial MVP candidate, perennial all-star, and I mean, he would be a prime time get. Of course, he would be playing in center field if we get him. He's a great defender. He's played right field pretty much his entire career, other than when he first came up and was a center fielder. But again, right fielder, would move over the center, would have no problem with his defensive abilities. Of course, again, this would be a prime time get for us, would be a big splash, and definitely think he would come into a situation in Philly. We big market. We're kind of shifting towards that contending mindset. Bryce Harper, got him to sign on last season. Hopefully can get Mookie Betts, another star outfielder, of course, better than Bryce Harper, one of the top 5 players in the league, Mookie Betts. Hopefully we can get him to sign on and join with us. And now actually simming after a few days, Mookie Betts has actually decided to decline our offer, and he'll be signing with the Diamondbacks for less years. I guess he just didn't want to commit to the kind of long-term offer that we were giving him, with just 10 years. He takes 7, so really disappointing that we can't get Mookie Betts, who really would have helped shift our team into contending mode. Now after Mookie Betts decided to not sign with us, I really wanted to make sure that I could go ahead and secure my next targets. The next one being Trevor Bauer, who of course in real life maybe isn't that top line starter, but still is a very, very solid starter that you definitely want in your rotation. And of course, him combining with Nola and Wheeler, we may not have a definite ace, but what I see is 3 quality starting pitchers, who can go out there and I trust every day to give us a quality start and a chance to at least win the game. Of course, another thing we've been doing is trying to add an impact bat, add to our offense. So these guys maybe don't have to be as good, but still really need Trevor Bauer to solidify that top 3 rotation that we can use in a playoff series to win. We're going to be offering him a 5-year deal, I believe. With a player option, about $15 million per year. Hopefully he signs on. We cannot afford to be losing these kind of guys. And we're also going to go ahead and offer up to George Springer, another guy who, we need to want to fill that impact bat spot. He wants 5 years. I'm going to offer him 4 and a player option, I think, offering him. Again, we really need these guys to sign. I don't, want to really lose any more guys after what happened with the whole Mookie Betts fiasco. We need to go ahead and nail down the guys that we want if we're going to, become contenders. If we don't end up, signing some big free agents this offseason, will definitely be a failure for the organization, because, we want to contend and really make that next step. Fortunately, the next update in this offseason is that I'm announcing that Trevor Bauer, yes, has signed on with the Phillies. A great get for us, of course. finally solidifies that top 3 of the rotation that we didn't have before, him combining with Nola and Wheeler. Hopefully they can combine to make a great top starting 3, which I think they will. A great pickup for us. Of course, you can see his stats last year, very good last year, has been pretty consistent throughout his career. And I think, he also can be a great influence in the clubhouse with his, analytically mindset to baseball, and hopefully he can help bring that to our pitching staff, help all of our players learn how to, take care of themselves and really, become effective on the mound. And now, unfortunately, George Springer does not sign on, but we did get Trevor Bauer, so I do not feel too bad about this. We did solidify that one big free agent at least that we got, so it's still a move towards contending, even though George Springer does not decide to sign on. In the Rule 5 draft, I went ahead and tried to fill a hole that we still have in our roster for the next season. We really need a second lefty in the bullpen to pair with Adam Morgan, and one that can actually get lefties out, unlike Jose Alvarez. And Minter is a guy who I think could fill that role. He's a pretty good strikeout lefty, doesn't allow a lot of home runs, so definitely a good guy to come in and face those lefty power hitters. Actually had a pretty good start to his career in about 1.5 years with the Braves, and really just everything came off the wheels in 2019. Had a really bad year, but I really think he can bounce back. That's the kind of value I'm looking for in the Rule 5 pick. Just low value guy who I think still has something left and could have a good career. So definitely went ahead and nabbed him, and he would be the only Rule 5 pick that we would decide to make this year. One thing I figured that I should also mention this offseason is our coaching staff. Most of it is just random AI guys, and pretty much all or most of the guys that you can sign in this are just made up guys. So I figure, coaching staff not too important. Pretty much we just went in and made sure we have a lot of high attribute grade coaches. Dusty Waithen is a real life third base coach who we just left on because I didn't feel like we should fire our entire coaching staff. So we kept him on, but he'll be gone after this season. Not really too much to say about that. All the other guys are pretty highly rated. Since we did not complete one of our goals of signing an impact bat this year in free agency, I found a trade here that I think can help address that issue of really needing another bat to bring our team forward to that next step to contending. And in this trade, I am trading for outfielder Andrew Benintendi, who somehow found his way into the Pirates organization here. I'm not exactly sure how he did that, but the Pirates are definitely a rebuilding team in this game. They don't really have much major league talent, and Benintendi is one of the top major league talent that they have. Of course, Benintendi, great lefty hitting outfielder against, really hits well against right-handed pitching. Pretty decent defensive ratings, really a left fielder, can play center field in a pinch, also a good right fielder. And really he has a great on-base tool. He walks a lot, doesn't hit for much power, but still very good, valuable hitter that gets on base a lot. And I thought, he's not really a premier bat. He's still a very useful guy, though. So I thought that he would be a great get for us. And, adding his bat to our lineup would help solidify us and really get another good quality hitter on the team, which is really what we need this year. Now, what we're going to be giving up is Connor Siebold, a 24-year-old right-handed pitcher with an A potential, really raw guy, kind of still. Just don't know if he'll be able to put it all together. Decent strikeout pitcher. Really, a lot of, again, he's pretty raw. All of his ratings are pretty low. So it didn't feel too bad giving him up. Justin Portillo is a guy who actually drafted this past season, and he's a guy who I liked a lot. He doesn't have a great strikeout rating, but he's a great ground ball guy. Doesn't walk anyone, doesn't allow any home runs, doesn't really give up hits either. So I thought he was an interesting guy to go after in the draft. We're going to be parting with him here. Definitely the most valuable guy, I think, in this trade that we're giving up. Can't really cheese the system, or I do not want to cheese the system with trades. So I thought I'd give up Justin Portillo, who I thought was a pretty good guy who I was going to part with for Benintendi. Then Debbie Gruen here, we really just don't need him. He's a pretty good hitting catcher, but with Realmuto, catcher is pretty locked up for the foreseeable future for our team. So I just thought, he's a good prospect who we really just don't need, and he's another guy who I thought would be good to flip for Benintendi, since there's really no need for him in the organization at this point. Now, looking at how the Phillies lineup will slot this season with the addition of new outfielder Andrew Benintendi, Benny Biceps. He's going to be leading off and playing center field for us. As a center fielder, I think he's fine. He's really more of a corner outfield guy, but he definitely has some range, and will have no problem just being an average defensive center fielder. Now he's going to be hitting leadoff because I like, a leadoff guy to be able to spray the ball around the field. Not really so much of a contact hitter who can't hit for power, but a guy who just doesn't pull the ball all the time, because since he will be leading off, he'll have quite a bit of time hitting with no one on base. So I definitely don't want someone who can be shifted easily against, and Benintendi fills that role better than a guy like Harper, who is also a great on-base guy. So Benintendi is going to be leading off for us against righties and lefties. Lefties is just kind of for now. Don't know how he'll hit against lefties since his ratings aren't very high against them, but he'll be there for now. And really the lineup hasn't changed all that much since last year. Hoskins is kind of slotting down to that 5th spot. Segura and Baum hitting 6-7. The lineup is basically the same against lefties and righties, just Segura and Baum are flip-flopped in the lineup against lefties. And now kind of looking at the bench here, Adrianza, at least I think that's pronounced, I actually don't really know. He's our backup infielder. We signed him as kind of depth guy this season. He is good against lefties, so that is kind of his role, pinch hitting off the bench against lefties, being a defensive, backup infielder. Matt Beatty, our main pinch hitter against righties, and kind of corner sub guy. Adam Hazley, our 4th outfielder, can hit against righties, so he can pinch hit against a righty. And then a good defensive 4th outfielder to have Andrew Knapp, and just kind of the backup catcher. With a guy like Remuto, the backup catcher, in that situation with the star catcher, doesn't really get any time. Now Bryson Stott is actually just going to have to be on our major league team this year. The game didn't recognize that he can't, in real life, isn't Rule 5 draft eligible, but he was there because I didn't put him on the 40-man roster because I knew that he shouldn't be eligible. But I traded for him for scraps, just had to finesse my way back into getting him, since it was unrealistic that he was from the Rule 5 draft. So he's just going to have to stay on, since he was technically a Rule 5 draft pick by another team. And then Roman Quinn, he's back for now, just a kind of pinch runner guy, can also play some outfield, hit against lefties, since we don't really have many guys who can hit against lefties off our bench. Now looking at the rotation, Aaron Nola, Trevor Bauer, Zach Wheeler, of course, our top 3, Suarez and Howard. Suarez's performance is really going to decide if we're going to need to trade for an arm this year if we are contending, so hopefully he can kind of do well. And if you noticed in the kind of lineup setup for our batters, we have 14 guys that we're carrying on the roster, and then that's really because in MLB The Show the bullpen is just all whacked out, and if you have a long reliever, he gets like 100 innings a season if you leave him there, which is just totally unrealistic, not at all how the long man really works. So you can't really have any more than 12 guys in your 12 pitchers on your team and 7 guys in the bullpen. So we just decided to have 7 guys in the bullpen, forgo that long guy, so we don't have to deal with the MLB The Show cheese where the long man just is the first guy of the bullpen literally every single game. So this is what we're rolling with. Minter taking that second lefty spot in the bullpen along with Adam Morgan. The bullpen really, is exactly the same as last year with, all these guys coming back except Minter. These guys definitely will probably be shuffled up and down a bit if some of these guys struggle. If we use a guy a lot, we need to dip into the minor leagues so we can have a fresh looking bullpen if we need to. But not really too much changing here. Our reliever would probably be something that we'll upgrade if we are contending this year. And that's really going to do it for this episode. Thank you guys for watching. It's been a very interesting offseason, and hopefully gets us to contend in the near future. So don't forget to subscribe and like if you have been liking the content that you're seeing, and I will see you guys next episode when we get into this next season of Phillies baseball.